so let's get to the answers that we started with. In order to get to the answers, we have to answer this question: how do you do psychology? And I've already told you that it's based upon, one of the key themes in here is that there's an empirical approach. This discipline is based on an empiricism, and the scientific method, therefore, is going to come into play. In order to understand this, we start with some assumptions and limitations. I've already given those to you last time, right? We have some key assumptions like why we believe or assumptions that we make guide us into how we explain certain phenomenon or some just foundational principles that we hold. So we talked about those last time. Some of those assumptions, if you believe in a world, for example, or in the origin of the universe that's completely naturalistic, you're going to be limited or you're going to have certain assumptions about things. So we start with that. You need to identify those kinds of things. By the way, I think it's why an education here at this university is such a well-rounded education, is because you get to ask about and talk about and bring up assumptions and limitations. In my PhD program, which was a great program, we never, ever, not once, except for in a history of psych class. I take that in a history of psych class we did, but beyond that we never talked about assumptions such as naturalism or materialism. Why, if I'm in a PhD program and I'm being trained as a scientist, would we not talk about assumptions like naturalism? Because they were what? They were assumptions. Would they just assume this is what everybody believed? I think what happens here is we kind of peer in and go, well, let's talk a little bit about these assumptions. Let's talk about different ways of approaching how we look at epistemology, coming to know, coming to see, coming to explain human behavior. So I think that's what's cool here. We kind of talk about these assumptions and these limitations to them, and it kind of gives our students, I think, some great advantages to seeing and understanding the world differently. So empiricism, then, as a reminder, experience is the sole source, if you want, of knowledge. So someone who's using or trained in the scientific method says, we are going to use experience, observation, documentation, what have you, as the sole source of knowledge. Another key variable besides the assumptions and using this particular method called the empirical or scientific approach, one of the key variables related to that is to have an attitude of skepticism. What is skepticism? Give me a definition. Skepticism is what? Skepticism, if somebody's, let's say, skeptical, describe what they are.
They're trying to find faults in, say, a statement or a so-called truth.
Okay, so they're trying to find maybe the error or think through what might be the wrong in a statement. Yeah. So if I say that you had chewable vitamins as a kid, you are have double the risk of using cocaine and marijuana, are you a skeptic? Do you think that's true? It is true, but a skeptic would say, well, I want to know what that means. I want to explain that. Give me another one. Somebody else with the skepticism. Yeah, go ahead.
They're usually doubters.
Yeah, a good word would be doubt. So if you think about a skeptic, would have doubt, right? And by the way, I'm not talking about a cynic. A cynic would just kind of, you know, what a cynic is, someone who maybe doesn't agree with anything and is just cynical. A skeptic goes, oh, okay, I'll hear you out, but I have some questions about that. About what?
They think critically.
Yeah, they think critically. There are cool studies that I want to talk about where we need to be thinking critically about it around back kind of near the turn of the century, just to stay in that era. There was how many have ever heard of a horse named Hans that could actually, back then, he was taught by his trainer to count. So how many have ever heard of Hans? They called him the clever horse, or clever Hans. How many have ever, if you haven't heard, how many have never heard of this horse, Clever? Oh, he toured all of Europe because his trainer taught him to count. So he would go like this. He would say to Clever, Clever, count to 6. And the horse would go like that. And he would count to 6. But it got even better. And the reason he toured, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people would come watch Clever because his trainer taught him to not only count, but to add numbers. He could add. If you said, Clever, what's, 1 plus 3, he would go and do it. Is that pretty interesting? A horse, if horses can be trained to, by the way, he could be trained to add and subtract and multiply. And some of you are going, I still can't multiply. And divide. Oh, horse, this is a picture of Clever the horse. That's the trainer. And that's the people watching Clever at a demonstration of him adding and subtracting and multiplying and dividing. And we should have skeptics in this room. Could a horse count? But he does. Could they add? We ride them. We should be doing tutoring with them. Could horses add, multiply, divide, subtract? What's a skeptic say? Well, the skeptic says, no, but I got a reason why I think this, what might be going on. By the way, a psychologist went to this and he goes, well, you should doubt this. Because everybody was kind of, what's something everybody believes today like that? Give me a modern day version of something that you've seen other people believe and you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe a lot of people believe this. Like I see like a magician that can levitate. How many think a man can levitate? How many have seen the magician? How many know who I'm talking about?
Chris Angel.
Chris Angel. How many have ever seen that guy? I'll show you a video of Chris Angel levitating. Could people levitate? Is it possible he figured out something cool and he learned something and he could levitate? But if you look at him, he certainly seems like it. Skeptics, and that's one of the key attitudes in a field and using the scientific method, is to have an attitude of doubt. And so you tell me, if you never heard of Clever House before until just now, and I show you, and we show up this here, and someone says, well, if you're doubtful, tell me why. If you've just heard this story for the first time, what would you do to show, or if you wanted to figure out if this horse truly could add, multiply, subtract, or divide, what would you do? I'll call on. Okay, go ahead, John. Sure.
We have somebody else test the horse.
Oh, somebody else test the horse. Wait, is that a good one?
Yeah.
Well, so, don't let that guy who taught him, pick somebody out of the audience.
Right.
So guess what happens? They do that. They take somebody out of the audience and they bring him up and they have the horse sitting. Let's say the horse is facing. Sorry, that was really kind of. So let's say the horse is facing you guys and he's sitting right here. And as this horse is facing you, Clever, they bring somebody up out of the audience and they say, all right, Clever, I'll give you a shot at it. What's the square root of 289? And suppose, let's just give it an easy one. The guy gets up and he goes, okay, what's 4 plus 3? The horse gets it right, ready? 90% of the time. That's still pretty good, isn't it? 90% of the time, the horse would get the right answer, even if it was not the guy that taught him. Ooh, that's a good one. So give me another thing you would do. If this first time you heard the story and you're wondering, you have an attitude of doubt, you don't think horses could add, multiply, divide, what would you do? Watch the trainer to see if he's given him signs. Is that a good one? Yeah. So we tell the trainer, you can't be anywhere near the horse. Now we ask him, and the horse gets it right 90% of the time. Come on, something else. You're doubtful.
Maybe showing him numbers instead of telling him?
If you showed him the number and you said, Clever, let's say we put the number 12 up there and you showed him, what's that number? He would get it right 90% of the time because they also read numbers. He was taught to do that too. This is getting interesting, huh? Maybe not but.
Do a number that he had never seen.
Do a number he'd never seen before. Let's suppose, by the way, if you spoke another language and let's say, and you said, well, that's another option, but let's say a number he's never heard before, and you asked him to count to it, he would get it right. Even if you spoke in a language he'd never heard before. He had this built-in translator. He was taught he learned to do that. This horse was shockingly and surprisingly amazing. Go ahead. Show him a letter and see, could you pick the difference? I don't know how you would ask him, but I know, but we could say, is this a number or nod your, I don't know. Let me think about that one. It's possible. Go ahead. Oh, put a blindfold over who? The horse? That's so cruel. Why would you do that? Tell me your name? Matt. You put a blindfold over the horse and you said, Hans, what's 2 plus 2? He would not get the answer right. Huh. Mr. Muehlhoff, go ahead.
Maybe the horse is just like, he just keeps like hitting his foot until he sees the crowd react.
Oh. We're getting close to the answer. Guess what? 90%. Go ahead.
Sorry, yeah, don't reward the horse when he gets it right.
Don't reward the horse when he gets it right. Smack him instead, huh? 2 plus 3. Wrong. Ah. We do that to animals, huh, all the time. Okay, and don't reward it. Say, no, I'm not going to give you any food. You messed up. That's not right. You got it right again. It's close. There is something rewarding here, and you're on the right answer, both of y'all, and here's where it is. Ready? This horse was extremely clever, by the way, because the horse, 90% of the time, he was taught one thing. What was he taught? The trainer taught the horse to start lifting up its paw. And he didn't start doing this. It just worked this way because the teacher at some point would go like this. Hans, what's 2, or count to 4, 5, let's say 4. Don't do that to the horse, he gets confused. Count to 4 and the horse goes 1, 2, 3, 4. And the trainer would go, that's right. That's it. Okay? So Hans eventually started to realize he would sit there, and by the way, horses are very observant. You know, they sit there and look at people, and 90% of the people, even from the audience, when they came up, Hans was taught to do this. As someone says, you know, this or does this, you start counting. And literally all the horse would do would sit there looking like this, and if someone, here's what the horse would hear, blah, 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 Hans, blah, 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 and they'd look down. And so the horse would just sit there and wait, listen to this guy, blah, and he'd look down, and as soon as he looked down, he would start counting. Because 90% of the people, if the answer was 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, they would kind of lift their head up slightly, like, that's the answer. And he was just trained watching you, and as soon as you lift your head like that, he would stop. And he would land on the right answers 90% of the time. Was he, could he add? No. Could he was he clever? He was very clever. But he couldn't add multiple. But you see, it took a skeptic. That's why when a guy does levitation, like this guy, oh, I don't think I have it plugged in. In fact, I don't think I do at all. Oh, that's too bad. I'll show it to you next time. If you haven't seen him, he levitates. What was most fascinating about, if you see this YouTube clip of Chris Angel levitating, it's not that he's levitating. I mean, we all know it can't be done, or at least, but the people who watch don't feel that way. And I think there are people who really, after watching him, go, well, somebody can do that. But, I mean, you have to be a skeptic to think, good night, could a person levitate? You think he'd be off just doing magic tricks? Yeah. I think he'd be like with the military, making like all kinds of havoc everywhere. Levitating all over the place, doing odd things, I don't know, floating around, Jetsons, whatever he's doing. There is a trick to this. And so here's the point. Skeptics approach things, findings, using the scientific method, and they ask this question, wait a minute, what else is going on here? See, that horse was very smart. But you have to kind of go underneath and look at it. So let's go underneath and look at the things we talked about. Why do kids who take chewable vitamins as kids have higher, and it's true, why do people who have taken chewable vitamins use marijuana and cocaine at double the rates, higher rates than people who didn't as kids? Give me the answer. You're a skeptic now.
Because more people took chewable vitamins and didn't.
Okay, first of all, in this room, when y'all raised your hand, it was probably 400 to 100 that took chewable versus didn't. There's just more people, so you're going to have more, right? But here's the problem. If I brought in, like I said, a random sample of people of all ages, brought them into this room, divide them, you never took chewable vitamins as a kid. You took chewable vitamins as a kid. This group over here that did is going to have double the risk, is going to use cocaine and marijuana at double the rates than this group. If I had equal numbers even. So, come on, give me another thing. What's going on here? Yeah. Okay, so maybe there's some sort of relationship between when people are giving you minerals and vitamins, that somehow they were related time-wise at the same time, and these drugs started becoming more popular. It's getting close, way back there, yeah. Uh-huh. Okay, so maybe there's something in the way parents of kids who had chewable vitamins kind of portrayed or gave them to kids, right? So in other words, maybe a kid was given this by a parent and that kid learned something, or the parent taught them to take this at a certain way. All right,
You take 2 and that's normal, and then you take 3 and nothing happens. You take 4, you take 5.
Okay, so
you don't see any negative implications of
okay, she says sometimes you take 1 or 2 and you don't really feel anything. You take 5 or 6 and you still don't feel anything. Is that how many of y'all have done that? You've taken like lots of those things just to see. Don't do that. I don't know what happens if you overdose on Flintstones. I have no idea if it's even possible. But what happens is you take more and more. Well, okay, I want to give you this secret because, ready? It's the same answer as it is to the question of oatmeal and Frosted Flakes. The answer is the same. That explains the relationship. It's the same answer. Come on, people. Be a skeptic. Go ahead, way back there.
There's more people that take vitamins than there are that don't.
Okay, there are more people that take vitamins than don't. It's similar to what he was saying earlier. Okay, I'm going to give you the answer. You want to tell me what you think?
Does that do with the parents?
That what? Has more to do with the parents and what they were like and who gave them and who didn't. All right, here's the answer. You take a group of random people, a 500, you bring them into this room. Remember, they're all ages. You tell me if they come into this room and I get to put them into one of 2 groups and they walk up to me. Remember, anytime between the ages of, let's just say they're 18 to 90, and they walk up and I say, did you take chewable vitamins as a kid? And if they say no, I'm going to put them on this side of the room. And then the ones that say yes, I'm going to put them on that side of the room. You describe the difference in the room between these 2 people. Are these people younger? And are these people older? Why would they be younger over here that took chewable vitamins? It's not because they took vitamins, it's because there weren't chewable vitamins when I was a kid. And the drug use is higher and associated with what? Younger people. So what's the variable that explains the relationship between taking vitamins as a kid and drug use? It's age. All I'm doing is separating you out by age. It's the same thing as the 1 and the 2 movie groups. It's the same. See, older people, if I brought them in as a kid, did you tend to watch group list 1 or list 2? Old people say, I watched list 2 mostly as a kid because the list 1 didn't exist. So now I've separated people out by age, and young people tend to have sex outside of marriage more because they tend not to be married, or they tend to use drugs at a higher rate than older people. Do you see the difference? Am I really then finding any relationship of a causal nature between vitamin use and drugs? It's not causing it. There's no cause there. Just because you took vitamins as a kid doesn't mean you're going to do this. Does that make sense? It's because of your age. By the way to understand this is like this. There's a relationship between people. If you go over here to like one of the local grocery stores and you watch people that are selling, if you just see at the grocery store popsicle sales, if you monitor popsicle sales, and if they go up, you can predict the number of drowning deaths based upon the number of popsicles being sold. When popsicle sales go up, drowning deaths go up. You could predict that more people will drown that week because popsicle sales went up, and it's not because popsicles are causing people to drown. It's because what? It's hotter outside. There's a third variable. Are you following? It's the same with IQs and breast milk. That one's a little bit different. Oh gosh, now I gotta find where I was. Let me just guess what slide number. That's not it at all. Huh. Ready? So, at the end of the day, we have to start with a method, and that method involves something like observing, which leads us to describe. Okay, give me a question that you have about the correlations or some of the things. Yeah.
What about the oatmeal and
Oatmeal
cancer?
and cancer. There was, and Frosted Flakes. Remember that one? Guess what? When I was little, Frosted Flakes was just being invented. Because I'm like 20 something, I forget what I am now, but for people that were 50 and 60, there was no such thing as Frosted Flakes. So guess what? You know, see what happens if you say you ate oatmeal mostly, you're going to have an older group of people. Does that make sense?
So what was the deal with breast milk and...
I'll tell you what I'm going to tell you what the difference is with breast milk because it's a little bit more complicated versus bottle feeding. And here's how I'm going to explain it. In fact, I'm just going to have you write this down, that observation leads to description, and I'm going to let you out about 2 or 3 minutes early. We're done. So we'll cover the rest of this. Next time we'll talk about finishing up methods, observation, ready? Correlation and experimentation. And then we'll start looking at the mind and the brain, in particular neurotransmitters, next week.
Biola University offers a variety of biblically centered degree programs, ranging from business to ministry to the arts and sciences. Visit biola.edu to find out how Biola could make a difference in your life.